It is now 9:15. The Board of Trustees of the Harris County Department of Education now convene a board meeting on Tuesday, June the 20th, 2017, the boardroom at 6300 Irvington, Houston, Texas at 9:15. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone present in this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from the superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and the day-to-day operations of the department are responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on today's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. This meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 to 551.084, inclusive of the Texas Government Code. I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us and for your interest in the Harris County Department of Education. This morning, our invocation will lead by Marion Coxey from High Point, Cooksey from High Point East.
Heavenly Father, we pause to say thank you. Thank you that we are present today. Thank you for allowing us to educate children. Thank you that we make a difference in the lives of so many. Amen.
Okay, the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the U.S. flag and to the Texas flag will be by Victor Keys for Academic and Behavior School West.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Okay. We have visitors today I'd like to recognize. We have Mark Niles. We have Elizabeth Santos, and they're from HUDL. Claire McKinney as well. Amber Weed from Precinct 1, and David Wilson is also here. Welcome. And we have people who have signed up to speak to us. And the first person on the list would be Heather Hatfield.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Heather Hatfield, and I'm an attorney here in Houston and the chairman of the board of directors of the Houston Urban Debate League, which we also refer to as HUDL. I've had the privilege of serving as the chairman of the board for the past 6 months, and I've been on the board since 2013. Our board is made up of federal and state judges, attorneys throughout the city, executives, and educators. And all of us share one important belief: that debate changes lives. That is the foundation of the Houston Urban Debate League. HUDL was started almost 10 years ago to bring debate back to Houston area schools. Although debate continuously flourished in some of the suburbs of Houston, almost none of Houston's urban schools had debate programs in 2006. A group of former debaters got together to change that and formed a partnership with HISD that resulted in a program that now serves over 30 schools in HISD at no cost to the students. You will hear from one of those students today about the way that debate changed his life. HUDL's mission is to develop and support competitive debate programs in Houston area schools. And in order to fulfill our mission to bring debate to more students, that's where you come in, the Harris County Department of Education. I'm here today to urge HCDE to aid HUDL in bringing cost-free debate programs to additional schools in Harris County. The funding from HCDE would allow students to participate in area debate tournaments, develop critical thinking and analytical skills, and to participate in a yearly debate camp on the University of Houston campus. Over the past 10 years, Huddle has watched the students that participate in our program grow academically, and for many of these students, consider going to college for the first time, and we've seen those students gain admission to some of the finest universities in the country. With HCDE's help, more students in Harris County can fulfill their full potential. Thank you for your time today and your consideration of the expansion of Huddle to additional schools in Harris County.
Thank you. Our next person will be Emerson, also from the Urban Debate League. There you go. Eric. I was struggling with that to see if that was Eric or.
You know, my handwriting needs work, but hopefully my public speaking skills will not. Good morning, everybody. How are y'all today? I'm the chair-elect of the Houston Urban Debate League, and I'm continuing the discussion of our expansion throughout Harris County. And what I want to talk to you about is the benefits of the board side of the Urban Debate League that we're proposing to work with you all. So we're going to ask you to vote for some spending of some resources on your end of things, which is obviously we're grateful for. But what I want to share is that for every dollar you all spend, we as the nonprofit side add immense valuable assets that are going to be instrumental, but will also mean that for every dollar you spend, there'll be a lot more value added to the process. And so what we as the nonprofit do are the following things. First, we mentor. We offer volunteers. We organize our volunteers to go out to area schools to work with students, to give them a judge, to have a public speaker there, to have a federal judge who can work with them about what is an argument and how to present an argument and how to be a well-researched, well-thought-out individual. I am one of the few educators on the board. I'm a teacher at the Kincaid School. We have a robust debate team. But one of the things that I realize is a lot of our coaches don't get mentoring, and we're asking a lot of our teachers who are new to debate, who don't have much classroom experience, to just go and sink or swim. And what we do as the nonprofit is we actually give coach mentoring. I've actually created a mentoring network where I've asked recently retired coaches and area active coaches to work with urban coaches to give them resources. We give them a Dropbox account that has curriculum material, that gives them a day-to-day lesson plan, that helps the students have the research materials that they're going to otherwise be needing. And the nonprofit is really good about doing that, and it's value added immensely. And finally, when we ask you to have a director that helps oversee our program, know that that director will report directly to a professional board that will give them feedback about how to work with things. We give them access to the city championship at the federal courthouse. And that's pretty cool for a high school student who's never even left their urban community or doesn't even have parents who've ever been to college before to experience what it looks like to be a lawyer, or to be a judge, or to have professional experiences. But the directors that we work with will also be able to have those very same people go to schools to talk to them to students about what are valuable life skills and valuable life goals as well. We provide scholarship opportunities. We offer a city championship, the one I just mentioned, and the winners of our city championships get scholarship opportunities to go to universities. And we encourage college matriculation, and we encourage the benchmarks of college readiness because that's one of the goals that we do. We offer a summer camp at the University of Houston. We created the structure for that camp. It's a week-long free camp for students. It's an overnight camp. And again, for a lot of our kids, their families have never been to college before. They don't have any experience with that. And when they step onto the University of Houston campus and they know that they can have the skills to be successful there, and they know what it's like to live in a dorm in advance, and they know what it's like to have late night study sessions and a peer network that's valuable and encourages education, a lot of that's created by us as the nonprofit side of things, and we've created that structure. As an educator, I've actually had to teach myself fundraising skills and nonprofit resource skills, and I write grant applications for the Texas Bar Foundation or for the Houston Endowment so that we can get resources to our kids that otherwise they won't have. Printers, computers, things like that. I guess computers they get these days, but printers and other resources are much more difficult. And then finally, we provide oversight. Again, we track data. We work with our directors and whoever you will hire. We make sure our students who come out of the program are college ready. We check our truancy levels. We check attendance levels for our students and their participation. And we do a lot of things behind the scenes that make the program work. And it's a way that's not going to cost the taxpayers any dollar because it's volunteer hours by the nonprofit, it's fundraising by the nonprofit, and it's a lot of things like that that are the resources that we bring to bear that will hopefully slowly but surely transform the educational landscape of Houston. And that's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker will be Ryan Penner, also from Huddle.
Hi, I'm Ryan Penner. I'm a teacher in HISD at Northside High School just down the road. And I was asked yesterday to come speak here kind of at the last minute. I didn't have much time to prepare a speech, but because of my debate experience, I have no problem doing that. And Eric Emerson was my coach in high school. And debate really instilled in me a sense of duty and service, and it drove me to where I am today as a teacher in HISD, working at Northside High School. And before that, I volunteered with Huddle. About 8 years ago, I started working with different schools in the Houston Urban Debate League. And as Mr. Emerson mentioned, Huddle does a great job of bringing mentors to the schools to give the students in those programs the experience that experienced debaters have, who have gone on to universities and are working in professional life using their debate skills. So as an HISD teacher, I've learned to build a debate team and rebuild a debate team and drive our students to achieve more than they thought they could. One thing that I think debate brings to the classroom is that we teach skills that are not present in a lot of our normal classes and a lot of our core classes. For example, I've realized that none of the social studies teachers at my school have a research paper as part of their curriculum, and that was not something that I experienced growing up. So in debate, we do a lot of research. Research is part of the program. It's the lifeblood of what you do when you actually go out and compete. So that's an experience that students at all schools that provide debate will get if they're in that program, that they're not necessarily getting in their classrooms. That's a skill that is required to be college ready. You cannot go to college and not know how to do a research paper. It's one of the reasons why a lot of our students from our underserved schools are going to college maybe for a year and then leaving college because they're simply not prepared. So debate increases college readiness. It provides critical thinking skills, which are also at a deficit in some of our schools. And I wanted to tell a story of one of my debaters, and because I think this highlights that debate for me was something that was offered as part of my private school education, and it was something that that I kind of took for granted, but it's not accessible to all of our students in Harris County, and it's something that I think that provides a tremendous amount of value for them. I had one student who, as a freshman, could barely write a paragraph. English was not her first language. She had a yearning for knowledge, but didn't have it all together. She joined the debate team. She competed for 4 years, and we got her the opportunity to go to the University of Texas for debate camp one summer, which is a highly acclaimed debate camp. She took that experience, came back, and was kind of a changed person. She had higher ambition. She saw a world that she didn't have access to before. And today she's attending Dartmouth on a full scholarship and is doing great. So that is a wonderful story, and she was able to get access to that because of a scholarship that we worked on, and we, as the debate team at Northside High School, had an arrangement with the River Oaks Rotary Club to provide that scholarship. But that's just one student. Imagine how many of our students are sitting in our schools who have that talent, who have that potential, who are not going to go to Dartmouth, who are not going to go to University of Texas, who are not going to go to even local schools because they simply haven't been given that one opportunity to see that world. And so that's what I think debate does, just from my perspective as a participant in debate and now a coach in debate. And I strongly urge you to expand the Houston Urban Debate Program across the county. And one thing that I think will benefit not just the programs that are funded by this board, but all of the urban debate programs in Houston, is that will increase the competitive landscape here. And as we know, the more people competing, the the better the quality becomes, and the more opportunities that kids have to grow and learn. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Alexis Liberato. You're also from Huddle.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Alexis Medrano. I've actually been through the program for Huddle. I graduated high school from the Houston Academy for International Studies in 2015. I did debate for about 3 years with Huddle, and coming from a low-income background, not having all these opportunities, I never actually considered college, or I never considered actually pursuing something after high school. Because of Huddle, I was able to do that. Huddle is something that actually puts your mind into perspective of what is out there. Because of Huddle, I was actually able to go all the way to nationals and was able to see something aside from Houston, just aside from what happens here, and was able to see a whole lot of people that are very interested in this, and got to see a lot of passion for it. In high school, basically everyone, my high school was one of the, we were really big in debate. About large percentage of the students were in debate, and we were very passionate for it. A lot of basically everyone that was in our top 10% was in debate, just because that was basically our sport. We didn't have anything really else. We were coached by Cameron Secord, and he actually saw something in us to move forward. I never saw myself wanting to do any of this, but now I'm like set. I'm going to college. It gave me a purpose. It gave me something to look forward to outside of high school, and it was just one of the best experiences ever. It sees, I guess, the entirety of everyone that's there sees something in you and sees something special and wants to push you forward. And that's something that I'm very grateful for, because it shapes who I am now. I used to be terrified to come talk to anyone, and now I'm here talking to you guys, wanting something bigger for the students, just because I went back these last 2 years and I've been mentoring a high school, and they did fairly well, and as well as Huddle, they've asked me to come back and actually coach and teach at their summer camp, and it's just something that's very amazing, and I love to give back. I love to always have that opportunity for other students that no one sees something in them, and I always wanted to come back and do all of this, and I enjoy every single part of it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world, just because this is who I am. It gives you a purpose. It gives you something to look forward to in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Jump, he's also with Huddle.
Morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Stephen Jump, and I am the League Director for the HISD portion of the Houston Urban Debate League. I'm also a program specialist for Houston ISD. I was one of the original coaches in the Huddle program. I coached for 3 years. I have served as the League Director for the last 5.5 years. And what she's passing out right now is a report that the HIC Research Department put together back when we were under Title I funds. It was required that they produce this report, and then the brochure that we have for the program. And I'll talk about some of the key points in that report at the end. Debate has so much to offer for everyone involved. It helps build skills such as speaking, writing, confidence, analytics, time management, research, and cooperation. And I've seen these things as a coach and when I go out to the schools. I've witnessed the transformation power of debate firsthand. I've seen kids who are apathetic become motivated students. I had students that I was begging to turn in work, join the debate team, and all of a sudden they're turning in work on a regular basis. I've seen that kids who were not going to college, who'd give me the responses, well, I'm going to community college, was as a key as a teacher, that they probably weren't going anywhere, do well in debate, go to the University of Houston, join their honors program, graduate with honors, going on to law school. I have seen students who their only option was community college, win scholarships to Georgetown, Dartmouth, Trinity, and many other very impressive schools. I've seen kids become advocates for themselves, both in the school and community. One of our students went to the University of Oklahoma. He was on CNN speaking out, and he learned those skills in Huddle. I have students get academic and social support so they can flourish in high school and in college. I've seen teachers become more motivated and create a community and help each other. I've seen former debaters return to help because debate creates community. We have 20 students a year at least that come back and help judge at our tournaments. After moving into an administrative role, I gained access to some formal reports on the Huddle program. I'd like to share some highlights and recommendations from the report, and that's the report that you have in your hand. This is completed by the Houston ISD Research and Accountability Department. Some highlights from the report. The results suggest a tendency for Huddle students to have a higher attendance rate than the typical HISD student. Huddle participation results in a decrease in the odds of receiving disciplinary action compared to the HISD random sample. Huddle participants were more likely to have a higher core course grade than students from HISD random sampling. To further accent the increased attendance, decreased disciplinary action, and increased grades, the highlighted portion of the report states that the more rounds of debate a student participates in, the greater the impact on attendance, discipline, and grades. The recommendations from the report is given its success, the Huddle program should continue to operate in HISD schools after Title I stimulus funds have been discontinued. We have been off Title I funds for 6 years now, and they keep funding the program at the full amount or the same amount. The Huddle program should be extended to additional high schools within HISD. We have doubled the number of high school students debating and added a middle school component since the report has come out. And so I have some numbers. In 2011, which is when I took over as director, we had 377 students participate. We are up to 789 students participating this year. The average tournament size was 184. Now it's 297. We've had up to 450 students give up their weekend to come debate. And so the program has grown. We've added formats. We started off with policy debate. We now have public forum, Lincoln Douglas, congressional debate, and world school debate. So we're offering the needs that the students want. So in conclusion, impacting students in such a meaningful and sizable way could not be done without the support of the donors, the Huddle board, and especially the Houston Independent School District. Based on nearly 10 years of success in the current Huddle program, I urge you to help expand this educational endeavor to support the Harris County initiative to bring debate experience to more students. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Matthew Malil.
Well, I was not a debater, so perhaps I will not measure up to my predecessors here. I just want to speak to a couple of the different measures that are up for consideration today by the board, and I'll try to keep it as quick as I can. I am in support of increasing the budget for the recovery school so that there's a culinary school by, what was it, about 20 grand. I think the last 5 months worth of meetings have shown how valuable this entity is going to be, how it's going to put Houston on the map. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And I don't think everyone needs to go to college, but I think everyone needs to learn a skill. And so in particular, people who are in recovery, they need to learn, if they're not going to go to school, culinary arts is a really good school to learn rather. And I just always remind the board that people who don't learn skills, and particularly addicts, they typically end up in prison. And prison costs our society 50 to 70 grand, I believe, per prisoner. So 20 grand now, if it even keeps one person out because they've got a job, that in of itself is a worthwhile endeavor. I saw another provision that's being considered by the board is a request for legal services. The attorney's job on this board is to represent the best interests of this entity. And admittedly, if there is no clear record of failing or other weaknesses, I don't see the need to necessarily just pursue another attorney. I know in corporate America, certainly, you don't just look to hire someone unless there's a documented reason. Otherwise, nobody wants to go through the time or take the energy to do such a thing. So if there's a documented list of problems and failings, then absolutely. But if there is not one, I don't know why the board would consider such a measure. I saw another measure was to eliminate the contract with Hilco, which is the lobbying arm. My understanding is the lobbying arm for the entity. Again, this seems conflicting to me because I know that there's a special session just about to start, so I don't know why, if the goal of the board is to represent its interests as strongly as possible, you would take this time to get rid of your lobbyist. And then finally, I saw that there was an internal auditor that's being requested to report to the board. I know that in the last several meetings I've had, you have Mr. Mesqua, and he seems to be doing a very good job. He's not here today, but he seems to be doing a good job. I know he employs or he uses an external auditor. And so again, if there is no documented and substantive list of failings that have occurred throughout the process, I don't know why this board would consider hiring an internal auditor unless there's a genuine reason to do so. I think it's also worth noting that, Mr. Evans, at the beginning of every meeting, you mentioned that the goal of this board is not to manage day-to-day operations. So it seems, again, conflicting to me to hire an internal auditor that reports to the board and not, if at all, to the superintendent. Before I went to law school, I was an engineer, and I was a process engineer, and so my goals were always to cut costs, make something effective, streamline, but the underlying goal was always for the benefit of my employer, which was typically a plant or something to that effect. And so I'm in favor of auditing, and I'm in favor of transparency, and I'm in favor of all those things, but there usually has to be a list of reasons why, besides just a sort of a general competition is good, generality. It sort of seems obvious to me that, pursuing new counsel, an internal auditor, getting rid of the lobbyist before a special session, these things will only hinder the effectiveness of this entity. And I urge you all to remember that literally on the website for the Harris County Department of Education, one of the qualifications to be on this board, it literally says, is to be in sympathy with public free schools. And I can't help but presume that not everyone here shares that sentiment, though it is a requirement to be on this board. And so I urge each of you, whatever you put forward to the board, just always remember that that is the underlying sentiment. We should try to strengthen this entity because it clearly does a lot of good for a lot of people, as I've learned just in the last 6 months of my attending these meetings. And I think it's important that you all remember the same thing too. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleen Vera, our next speaker.
Good morning. I'm Colleen Vera, a retired school teacher and also taxpayer. And my specialty and what I taught for many years was food production, culinary arts, food science, those kinds of things. So I'm concerned about the culinary arts program that's being designed or being planned because I've never heard a discussion about it before. Any electives they're going to be offered at the recovery school. So what I'm asking you today, I gave you a list of some of the questions I have. I've opened a high school culinary program. I've assisted with alternative schools in a district. They were opening their alternative programs for with culinary. There's a lot of issues involved, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can make a lot of building mistakes and then have to go back later and fix them. So I'm asking you to design your program first, and I gave you a list of some of the things that might be involved, and then have the architect design the classroom, because that prevents the taxpayers from having to pay to go and change the classroom later. There's been some brilliant designs I've seen done where the equipment is more portable. So when the teacher needs to change to a new program or a new course, some of the equipment can be moved out into storage and different equipment brought in so that you can change from a culinary to a practicum type of program. You also need to consider who your customers are going to be. Culinary arts has to have customers. And depending upon where the school is, how are you going to let those people enter and exit the building so that everybody stays safe? What restroom facilities will they have? What changing facilities do the students have for their culinary clothes? Who's going to launder them? All those kinds of things. What kind of certifications are they going to be earning? I'm asking you to please plan all that ahead. Then the architect can plan, and if you can hire your teacher ahead of time, that's even better, because then the teacher can be involved so that you're not wasting space and wasting money on things that the teacher's never going to actually use because it was for a restaurant and not for a culinary program. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this next section of the agenda is reports and presentations. Our annual update for the HCDE School Service Division. Dee Maddox Hall, Senior Director.
Good morning. Board members, superintendent, administration, and all the friends of children here today. It's always a pleasure to share about the schools division because we think that the schools division has one of the best jobs at HCDE, and that is of teaching the children. This is one of 800 students that we serve or teach. Each year, the schools division serve or teach about 800 students. We serve students who are intellectually, developmentally, autism spectrum, behaviorally challenged, and physically disabled. The schools provide a pathway, and this is our motto, a pathway for an alternative pathway for students in grades K to 12, ages 5 to 22. Another one of our 800 students. Where do we teach our children? We have 4 main locations during FY17. High Point North, which is basically on the north side, AB West, our southwest side, High Point East on our east side, and AB East kind of on our north-south side, east side. Where do we serve the children? Where do we teach the children? Our children come to us, or our students come to us from 23 in-county districts. We have 10 out-of-district or out-of-county districts, and we have 3 major charter schools. Board members, I want to remind you, I'm giving you the shorter version. You may have a longer version, but I'm going to shorten it up a little bit for us today. This is a list of all of our districts that we serve. Students come to us, about 800 of them from these particular school districts, 36 of them. Another one of our 800 students. We serve our students and we stand ready to teach the children and guide them to success. We do it with high quality instruction. We do it in a safe environment. We provide behavior strategies and stages, and we do it with a high qualified staff. Another one of our 800 students. We teach the children. Some of the things that we have highlighted for FY17 is that we have had a major program called our Chess Play at our AB campuses, that they had our first tournament among students and some adults. The superintendent was impacted or participated. But let's look at the Teen Summit that we provided at High Point East with Judge Joe Stevens as our guest speaker. Our garden projects we have at Academic and Behavior East. Vocational programs at both AB schools. We work and our students work in the vocational program of Goodwill Industries, Lakewood Church, Texas Parks and Recreation. We have lots of cultural celebrations at our schools. We have the Christmas program at our AB East program that some of you have attended. We have graduation programs at our AB West campus. We have guest speakers forum and series at our High Point North. And we have family and parent workshops at all 4 of our campuses actually, but mainly at our AB West and AB East. Another one of our 800 students. And let's look at our annual contracts that we have for our schools. We've done a comparison of our FY17 this year as compared to what is estimated for next school year. And you can see in the light blue column the number of contracts. And then in the next column, the third column, you'll find that how much we are proposing for in-county, out-of-county school districts. And basically, when we look at our out-of-county school districts, remember that we charge a little bit more, about 10% more for out of county, and then the estimated revenue for our 18. We have approximately 483 annual contracts for a generated revenue of $7.5 million. We've gone from 137 to 138 contracts at AB East, High Point East, AB West, 112 to 117, and even at our High Point North. We had 35 at the beginning of the year, and Spring ISD came along and requested 3 more at mid-year. We do all of the teaching and serving of our students with some tools. We have to have some curriculum that's insights to behavior, success ed that we use for our IEPs. At our DAEP that we serve at High Points, we serve 6th through 12th grades. Our FY17 accountability, we mastered our objectives. We met our objectives, all 5 of them. Over the past 4 to 5 years, we've had 20 plus graduates from our AB campuses. They actually have a program that they graduate at our ABs. This is one of our 2017 graduate at AB West. We do all of this serving and teaching our students with 65 teachers and 41 aides, transition specialists, behavior analysts, licensed specialist school psychologists, nurses, school counselors, clerical support, and permanent substitutes. And we do it all with these people, our principals, our leaders. Mindy Robertson, please stand. Principal of AB East. We do it with Dr. Victor Keys, principal of AB West. We do it with Marion Cooksey, principal of High Point East. We do it with our curriculum director and acting principal of High Point North. And soon to join us will be Dr. Anthony Moulton, which is our principal at HCDE Recovery High School. We appreciate the opportunity that the board has provided us, that we keep all of our students in the spotlight, and we've been doing it since 1981, 36 years. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Yes.
Thank you. Question and a comment. On your, and this may be for the superintendent, where are the High Point, when you showed the FY18, some of those, they're going down by a couple students each, but I would think they would go up because some of the High Point North that aren't recovery students would spread to the other schools. So they're not, they're not
included in this particular number.
Okay. So some of them are not going to go to the other schools? High Point East, some of the High Point North?
So we have, essentially at High Point North, we have Spring Branch ISD, Klein ISD, and what's the third one?
Spring.
Three students from Spring. I believe Spring Branch was open to sending their students to our High Point East campus, which is the drive is about the same distance. It may take a little longer because of the route that they'll go. So those numbers will shift. And I think also an important note to make is that these numbers shifts throughout the years. Just like we started the year with no students from Spring, and then throughout the year they decided to buy some additional seats because they needed them for whatever was going on. So those numbers fluctuate.
Okay. Oh. Go ahead first.
I just wanted to ask you, I noticed all your staff is 100% highly qualified teachers, and I know they're all doing a terrific job, but I'm sure with these kinds of students, it can be tiring and tough, and I noticed that one of your challenges is the absence rate. So can you tell us maybe, how do you prepare teachers at the beginning of each year to, What do you do to alleviate that?
We try to pump them up a little bit with some motivational skills and motivational speakers and events. But our principals meet with their staff members at the beginning of the school year, in the middle of the school year, at the end of the school year, and whenever it takes, just to remind them that this is a very challenging job that we have. Our students are challenging, but they come to us with love, and we try to pump them up as much as possible. But as in any school district, you're going to have some absenteeism, and we're a little bit more high than most school districts are. Thank you for your time. Oh, I'm so sorry. One more added person to our team, our main leader, Mr. Jonathan Parker. I'm sorry.
Dr. Hall.
Yes.
Before Dr. Hall gets away, Board of Trustees, I do want to inform you guys that after 40 years of serving in education, that Dr. D. Maddox Hall is retiring this year. She has been a champion for children and for public education, and she has served the department well. So just wanted to let the board know that she is retiring and that we will miss her.
Thank you very much.
Get back in front of that mic. We're not done with you yet. Dr. Hall is, without question, has earned soldier status with me. She is a person that is celebrated at every campus she goes to. I mean, it's really quite interesting how even the students know her and take to her. And one of the things I try to pick up on when I go to our campuses, because I've done a ton of campus visits, is really the culture and climate of a campus. It's not what the people say, it's how they feel when they're in the building. You know, whether they greet you or they smile at you, whether the kids are happy or engaged in the learning process. And folks, I'm here to tell you that that is a direct byproduct of leadership. Students don't create a culture and a climate on a campus. Leaders do. Adults do. And so I commend you for your leadership, for your dedication, your loyalty to HCDE, and I salute our leadership, our principals, who do an exceptional job in leading our campuses. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Another 16 years, that'll be me.
Well, you know, you've given our superintendent something to shoot for. He just told me another 16 years, he'll be following you into retirement. All right, let's see here. Don Sumner's report of Board Feasibility Subcommittee.
We are making progress in our attempts to build the AP School West and also in the new Recovery High School. Things are progressing, but we've had some hiccups, but I think we will meet the revised opening date.
Trustee Sumners, if I could add, last week the board was given a development report for the Huddle program, and one of the things that we have chosen to do with this developmental plan process is to integrate it to even more programmatic situations, more so than just building buildings. It is an excellent template to use, very thorough, and it's a tremendous guideline as we step forward and allocate resources and funds to new initiatives that we're going to be doing with HCDE. So I'm actually enjoying our developmental group. I think we're probably going to need to meet again pretty soon in July. I hope to bring something to the board, a finalized developmental plan for AB West. Although we've had some hiccups here and there, none of those things have been deal breakers. They're just some things that we want to keep it clean and run it right down the middle. So hopefully by July we'll be able to have that resolved. But regardless, we should be able to have something to present to the Board of Trustees in July for AB West. And also the developmental plan for the huddle, as you saw the people present, that's actually embedded in the budget that we're proposing for 2017-18. So that will not be a separate item to vote on separately, but it's embedded in the budget, and it's one of the things that I went over last week during our presentation at our budget workshop. Thank you.
Stu? Does anybody else, any other board members have any reports concerning attendance or participations in a board or HCD related conference, event, activity, or committee? Accolades? Anything? Yes, ma'am.
I was able to present to a leadership development class of women that are interested in being on boards and committees, and they were very excited about our work. And one of them is a part of Mr. Colbert's AFL class, I think Joanne or Joni. Yeah. What's her name? But anyways, was very enthusiastic about our work in the recovery school and about being engaged in what we're doing. We were also able to attend the Hispanic Association of School Administrators annual scholarship banquet, where they give scholarships to high school students who want to become educators. And I think it's important to cultivate the next generation of educators in our community.
And folks, I just wanted to make sure she included that, because I accompanied you on that event. That was 2 hours and 45 minutes for 14 scholarships. So.
Superintendent Carranza was there, and I learned that he's a twin, so that was also an exciting moment. Houston ISD.
All right, anybody else? All right, thank you. We're going to have a presentation now on our monthly financial reports.
Yep.
Dr. Musco won't be here. He's attending the birth of his granddaughter, so we figure that's a good reason to miss the board meeting.
Good morning, Mr. Colbert, member of the board, administration, and everyone present. Apologies for Mr. Musco not being here, Dr. Musco not being here. So I'm going to try to use his speed in speaking, and I may fail, but I'll try. So these are the financial highlights for the month of May. You can have a presentation or a briefing of 1 minute if you check in the webpage, and you will see it there. Total assets as of May 31st is $37,706,129. Total liabilities $1,567,240. Total liabilities, fund equity and fund balance appropriated today is $37,706,129. The general fund balance as of May 31st is $28,272,085. We have financial ratios, indicator of financial strength, of efficiency leverage, of efficiency, and of revenue growth. And as you can see in the slide, we have percent of fund balance of general fund expenditure ratio. We're moving from 46% in fiscal year 16 to 38% in fiscal year 17. In working capital ratio, we're going from 35 million in 16 to 36 million fiscal year 17. Indicator of efficient leverage reserves and an assigned fund balance ratio, we're going from 41% in fiscal year 16 to 40% in fiscal year 17. And debt to income ratio is 6% in both years, so we're keeping the same level. As indicators of efficiency, we have tax revenue to total revenue ratio. We're going from 31% in fiscal year 16 to 26% in 17. Indicator of cost to tax ratio, we're staying 2% both periods. Indicators of revenue growth, fee for service revenue ratio, we're going from 24 to 22%. In fee for service revenue growth ratio, we had a negative 3% in 16, but in 17 we have 10% increase in the fees for service. when compared to last year. The fund balance variation from 30 million at the beginning of the year to 28 million estimated at the end of the year is presented in this chart, where you can see the main areas in which the fund balance is going to be applied, especially Recovery High School and the new program initiative. We're taking about $1.5 million. Revenues from the funds, considering that we are about 3/3 of the year on, we should be in 75% in all those numbers. You can see 87% in revenues for general fund, which is good. Then we have special revenue funds. We're only 48%, but it's because some of the grants are coming in a different time. They work in calendar year more than what we are in our fiscal year. And all the other debt service is 74%, so you can see that we are in total 73%, which is expected. The amendments, this chart we present the amendments that we have done during the year. For May, we have a different chart that we'll see later on with only $131,000 for increase in revenues from grants mainly. In expenditures, again, if we think 75%, if we are expending 66% in general fund, we're doing good. And you can see the same situation with special revenue funds, and in total, 60% at the end. Donations, we have received $65,604 in cash and in-kind donations. And in the following chart, we see the donations we receive in cash, one by one. Taxes. In taxes, according to the information received from the Harris County Appraisal District, as of May, we expect to receive $22,068,000 is the last column to your right, which compared to what we budgeted, which was $21,009,000, we are $103,000 above that number. This is the collection as of May 31st. And if you check, the bottom line is that we have received so far $21,003,000 when we had estimated $21,400,000. So we are pretty much into the tax to be collected. In total, including delinquent taxes, penalty, and interest, we have received $21,500,000, and we have paid the Harris County Appraisal District and the Harris County Tax Office $578,743. I'm sorry, $578,743 for their fees, which we are 99.3% in the revenues that we were supposed to collect. Good indicator. In disbursements, we have 686 checks for $1,500,000. 525 transactions in P cards, and 7 transfers for a total of $3,669,808 disbursements. The divisions have contributed with revenues and tax subsidies, where what you can see there is that we are pretty much with therapy and the schools only 3% under the revenues compared to what we're spending. And choice, which is the last section of the chart, is contributing $1,006,000 to the operation of the department. For the amendments, as I said before, is mainly for changes in the grants that we're receiving, AB East, and it has 2 special revenues for adult ed and Head Start, $133,677. The constructions, Mr. Sumner's talked about it. There hasn't been many changes in what we have expended there. We are waiting to receive the green light to start with this process. The period, construction period is still 14 to 18 months. If you have any questions so far? If not, then we'll go into the investment report. This is the investment report for the month of May. And basically, we have $34,907,000 in the general fund. For PFC, the Public Facility Corporation, we have $10,847,280 for a total of $45,754,764. Mainly, we have Chase Bank, Lone Star Investment Pool, Tex Pool Investment Pool, and Techstar Investment Pool. We have $24,818,542 in the investment pools, which is about 71% of what we have in the general fund. And the rest is $10 million in JP Morgan. And as you are aware, we keep $10 million in JP Morgan so that we avoid paying for fees, transaction fees, which saves the department about $2,500 a month. For the Public Facility Corporation, we have $10 million. And when we compare the amount of funds in fiscal year 16, we had $35,311,246. And in current year, we have $45,754,764. And basically, this is the difference is because of the money that we have to build a new school. Everything is deposited in basically one day. Next day, we can receive our funds the next day if we need to use them. I'm sorry, I think I went back. We have received $83,950 in interest for general fund and $4,227 for the Facility Corporation. We are a little bit under the benchmark in terms of the interest rate. They are 0.98, and we are receiving 0.768. We are about to change that. We are working in investing some funds in some titles that will give us a better interest rate. So this number should be changing in the near future. I guess if you have any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the action items consensus. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick. Got a second by Dr. Troutman. Any discussions? I need to take out reserve for 6, 9, 10, and 11.
C6.
C6, 9, 10.
Yes.
Do you need to take out 13?
They got 13 as well there, see?
Do you need to take out 13?
Oh, is it? Oh, yes, 13. I'll need 13 as well. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to take out B. B as in boy.
B? Gotcha.
I'm kind of losing track.
Anybody else?
Hold on.
So right now we have B, and then we have C, 6, 9, 10, 11, and 13.
Wait, does E, I'm sorry. This goes all the way through E, right? E is still consensus? Okay, yeah, then I wanted 7, E7.
Trustees? Okay. All right, so we have, yes, sir.
D17.
What is it again?
D17.
D as in David?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we have B, C, 6, 9, 10, 11, 13. D is D17 and E7. With the exception of those. All in favor of the rest, please raise your hand.
You didn't take questions. You said we could select.
Oh, I still have questions? Okay.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I didn't pull some out, but I had some questions.
Oh, okay, go ahead, please.
Sorry.
What questions do you have?
It's for Choice Partners E11. Or maybe it's for Sarah. I thought maybe just because I've been on the board now, it's getting to be long, that we got to look at these contracts. Are we to presume that for E11, yes? Well, I'm not saying they're not going to actually.
Sarah, could you turn your microphone on so we can hear what you're saying? Thank you.
I mean, are we to presume?
It's the same, it's the renewal of the existing contract with no additional changes or revisions. So
their rates are staying the same? When
I believe so. The rates are staying the same. Is that right, Mr. Drury? Yes. Otherwise, it would be an amendment to the contract, and that's not what's being presented.
Okay. That's what I was getting confused.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay. No other questions, right? All right. All in favor of the ones that, except for B, C, 6, 9, 10, 11, 13, D17, and E7. Please raise your hand. Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, we'll then take item number B, which is consider approval of the board meeting minutes from 5/16 of 2017. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Dick.
Second.
Got a second by Mr. Wolf. Do I have any questions? Any discussions? Okay, here, no discussion. Please raise your hand. All in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Okay, so one abstention. Okay, item number C, 6, 9, 10, 11, and 13. And just for the record, I'm not going to be voting on this because my wife works for either Cypher ISD or my son works for Spring ISD, so I just stay out of those. Okay, so all in favor of, I need a motion, please. Got a motion in a second. I got a motion by Erica Lee, and Dr. Troutman is the second. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, all abstaining? So you have one abstention. Okay. Item number D17, do I have a motion?
You had
No.
What did I do?
C17, you said? I did E7, but I think Trustee Wolf had a D7.
So I'm doing D17 right now. Okay. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, you're doing great.
All right. Yeah, I know. So do I have a motion for D17?
So moved.
Got a motion by Ms. Lee. Got a second by Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion? Okay, for D17. Yes, sir. Discussion.
I'm a member of St. Baptist Church, that's why I'm not going to vote on this.
Look, thank you, sir. Okay. Do I have any other discussions? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of D17, please raise your hand. Okay. All abstaining? Got a one abstention. Okay. Item number E7. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Trustee Carter. I'll second it. Okay, do I have any discussion on E7?
Yeah.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
Can someone tell me more about who she's going to be working with and in what context?
Mr. Wynn, are you coming to our rescue?
Julie Smith is the contractor who provides Head Start disability services under contract. Correct someone? Yes. We contract with her. This is an ongoing contract. She provides the required, the Head Start policy standards require that we provide disability services to children who require them, and we work with Julie to provide those services.
Okay, thank you.
Do I have any other questions or discussion? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of item E17, please. E7, I'm sorry, E7, please raise your hand. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, we're going to go to action items non-consensus. For 7A, do I have a motion? Got a motion by Mr. Dick, a second by Dr. Troutman. Okay, do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of item 7A, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Number 7B, consider approval of early Head Start Child Care Partners EH agreements for the period 8/1/2017 through 7/31/2018. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Dr. Troutman. Got a second by Mr. Dick. Do I have any discussion?
Yeah. Are all these renewals?
Trustee Sumner wants to know if are they all renewals?
It looks that way.
Yes, they are.
They're all renewals? Okay.
Any other? Anita, she was just here a second ago. She stepped out. Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, all in favor of 7B, please raise your hand. Motion passed unanimously. Okay, item number 7C, consider approval of submission of carryover funds request to the Department of Health and Human Services to carry forward $120,986. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Wolf, second by Mr. Dick. Okay, any discussion? Barring no discussion, all in favor of 7C, please raise your hand. Motion passed unanimously. Item number 7D, contract between HCDE Head Start, Area 1 Head Start, and Houston ISD to provide comprehensive services to 3- and 4-year-old Head Start eligible children. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Dr. Troutman.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wolf. Do I have a discussion? Barring no discussion, let's have a vote. Please raise your hand for your favor. The motion passes unanimously. Number 7E, consider approval of request for HCDE Area 1 Head Start 2017 cost of living adjustments, 1% COLA. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Trustee Lee, seconded by Trustee Troutman. Do I have a discussion? Yes, ma'am.
Can somebody describe the COLA? How many teachers is it going to, and what? Yeah.
The COLA is, the 1% increase is for 274 employees with Head Start and 15 employees with the EHSCCP Child Care Grant.
Is it 140, the 20 plus 120? What is that?
No, the 120 is for Head Start, because it's two different grants.
Okay.
We go into two different grant numbers.
Okay.
And then the 20,000 goes for the EHSCCP portion.
Can you remind me if we did a COLA last year?
We had a 1.8% COLA last year.
But with this COLA, do we still remain behind the other providers?
Definitely.
I would just like to comment that I would hope that at some point you'd actually ask us to consider a more significant raise. Because
Yes.
I know educators, you know educators, and they have to eat as well.
Any other discussion? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, all in favor of 7E, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, number 7F, consider approval to write off and dispose of obsolete, non-repairable assets located in the HCDE warehouse at 6311 Irvington Boulevard. Do I have a motion? So move. I'll motion. Anybody second it?
Second.
And a second by Mr. Wolf. Do I have a discussion?
What?
Mr. Dick?
What is the?
Here comes your answer.
Okay. It just says assets. I assume it's over a de minimis value, because it's here. So what is the assets?
Old computers and petitions and things of that nature.
It's furniture. I mean, it's been stacking up. We did a big tour of this about a month ago. We've got several storage locations that have obsolete technology and furniture that's probably 15 years old. Really no use for it anymore, and it's taking up space.
Now, just a question for me then. It says with the computers, are you using some type of program to overwrite the hard drives, or do you remove the hard drives and destroy them?
No, we are going to have TechnoCycle, who works under the Department of Defense, and manifest transfers to ensure that when those computers are disposed of, that hard drive is completely destroyed, and we'll have the manifest that says that under proper protocol for disposal of technology of these old antiquated systems.
Mr. Dick, I heard you.
What's the value of the assets we're disposing of? I asked that because, do you know, is there a value if any of the assets we're disposing?
Well, I can tell you on the technology side, Mr. Dick, you can offer those to the vendors who might take care of the Department of Defense destruction of the hard drive. They found no value in these computers. Now, we might in other computers as we move down the road, but these are so antiquated that they said there is no value, and so they'll dispose of them properly under all the guidelines. Now, some things might have value, and we'll put those to an auction.
My question is, I guess it's for us in general. If these have no value, why are we voting on this? And that I don't understand why, and maybe someone can help me. Why are we voting on this if it's just to get rid of trash?
Well, I mean, it was purchased with public dollars, tax dollars. And I just also would like to point out that not only was it Greg and myself that did the walkthrough of the facilities, but also Mr. Vu, our technology director. And we're talking CPUs that still have 3.5-inch floppy drives in them. I mean, they're pretty old.
And they are fixed assets.
Board policy calls for the board to dispose of assets.
Mm-hmm.
Is that just something we can fix on board policy for future?
Maybe.
I agree with Eric. It just seems like in some things, you know.
I think we should be careful with that.
I actually think that state law requires us.
Yeah.
I think it's legal policy.
Legal?
Well, you know.
You have to vote to remove it from the
fixed
books.
assets.
I think we've had that discussion before.
Yeah. And we have to be careful. We don't need to have, employees plucking through all that stuff and,
Well, no, I'm just saying, like for us, I can get rid of state property, but there's protocols. I can give it to the nonprofits, but if I'm going to get rid of it just to throw it away, then I have to get somebody to do what you guys are doing. So I'm just curious about if you're planning to auction it off where somebody can make money off of it, but if you have furniture, they might be given to Boys and Girls Country or something like that, and that's a nonprofit, then I would think that we could do that because it is bought with public funds and helping a nonprofit.
I think that's a good point. And we do look at some of those things that you mentioned we haven't looked at, but certainly we just are trying to be consistent with policy. And I'm never, trying to increase our agenda and bring additional action items, but it's really the best way to handle this.
Well, I mean, I agree if we're just going to give it to somebody to sell and make some money off of it, that's fine. But you might want to see if there's a way, if there's other entities that are nonprofits that if it's something that we're not using but somebody else could, it might be something that we could still do and help in, fulfilling our mission to help the citizens of Harris County. So just my 2 cents worth on that.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Troutman?
Well, like our attorney, is there a legal description for it? Yeah, just to be.
It's CI legal.
Yes, it's policies. Thank you, Bill, Mr. Monroe. Correct. Policy CI legal provides that it's the board's obligation to declare property obsolete and declare it surplus, and then the administration can move forward with actually getting rid of it, whether that be destruction or donation to nonprofits, things of that nature. But the first step is the board has to take action to declare it surplus and obsolete.
Then shouldn't this say we declare it's obsolete, or it says consider approval of write-off and disposal of obsolete, but shouldn't we declare it obsolete if that's what it
This,
says?
in my opinion, this action item, when you're disposing obsolete, non-repairable assets, and the backup list out what those assets are, that meets the legal obligation.
It says approval, but it doesn't say we're declaring it. We're just approving to write off it
And dispose of
obsolete.
correct. And then
But we aren't declaring it's obsolete.
In section 8, beginning on page 819, if I can get there quickly, because this is in the backup. Again, I believe that this is the list of what the items are that are obsolete assets. And so again, in my opinion, this agenda item is sufficient. You don't actually have to use the words declare obsolete. If this agenda item is approved, the property that's included in this backup would be the obsolete property. But in the future, if you would like to see the words declare obsolete, I'm sure that the administration would be amenable to that.
I just figured we just follow the code that we're, if we're supposed to follow language in the code, we'd follow the language that it says or mimic it.
So you're saying in CI legal, we cannot just automatically dispose of something? We can't just say, like if we want to give it to a nonprofit, the board has to vote on it?
The board had correct.
We have to declare it's garbage or declare it's obsolete.
And I'm trying to pull it up. I don't have it's not
Board
pulling up.
policy says the board may dispose of property that is no longer necessary for district operations in an appropriate manner.
Correct.
So.
That's what we dispose and we dispose.
I guess what I'm asking though is that do we have to do, like Eric said, does this have to come to board, or can we have a policy that says certain values, or if we do it to nonprofits, can we put that in there?
That's the appropriate manner.
Well, that could be the appropriate manner. I'm just asking.
It's legal policy. It's in the law what Bill just read. And so
Okay.
I don't think you can change that via local policy.
All right.
You may be able to delegate authority to that. That's something that we can look into
Okay.
with the policy committee of whether or not that obligation imposed under statute is a delegable one where you could delegate to the administration via local policy.
All right. Well, we beat this horse to death, so let's. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, thank you, for entertaining our questions. Okay, all in favor of this motion to write off and dispose of and declare a thing as obsolete, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Number G, consider approval to purchase 5 vehicles from Caldwell County Chevrolet LLP by board contract 51-16 for the Maintenance and Records Management Division. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second it. So motion by Mr. Dick, second by myself.
I have a point of inquiry. Why is H after G? Because I presume that.
We don't want to dispose of vehicles. This is really the proper order of operations. If we dispose of vehicles and then y'all don't approve for us to buy new vehicles, then we have no vehicles.
All right. Superintendent. All right. So, do we have any discussion with it? So we'll just go back to G for now. All right. So we have a discussion. I do have one question. Why are we buying from a out-of-county Chevrolet dealership? Just curious.
Probably cheaper.
It's probably cheaper, or what?
That's 300,000 miles.
It says Caldwell. Oh, excuse me. I left the R out, didn't I? Yeah.
Caldwell Country, but it is out of Harris County. We selected some purchasing cooperatives as the method to purchase these with.
Okay.
And I did not see any local dealerships, Chevrolet dealerships that
inside the cooperative?
that were on the cooperatives, and we tried both Houston Galveston Area Council and by board, 2 different cooperatives.
Try to keep our money local if we can. All right. Anybody else have any other discussion? Yes. Mr. Sumner.
Can you describe the vehicles we're purchasing?
Come on,
Basically, C3500 cargo vans, which would be 1 ton.
The old type cargo vans?
Yes. Well, yes. Yes, sir.
Are there any Ford dealers on the cooperative list?
There are 4 dealers on the cooperative list. The division specified Chevrolet because Ford did not have the divisions. It's for maintenance.
Well, you know, the last vehicle we bought was a Ford, and so what's the deal with the Chevrolets?
These are more heavy lifters, and they did not have a proper sized engine in the Ford.
Yes, sir. The Ford, they do have a 1-ton chassis on the new Fords, but they're all turbocharged 6 cylinders, and the loads in these particular vehicles will not be able to be moved around. So
Well, I know that they make the Fords that are 2 and 3 tons.
Yes,
I mean, and they have these. The Chevrolets don't have a raised ceiling in them like the Fords do, and I think frankly, I think you ought to explore that because they're a whole lot easier to manage loading and unloading when you can stand up in them. And by the way, Dodge also has the same thing. Mercedes has the same thing. Chevrolet's the only one that I know of right now that does not have the new version of vans.
Yes, sir, Mr. Day.
I think the majority of the capacity of the vehicles don't require the high headroom, and that's the reason we didn't address it, because that's not what we're replacing.
So how do you load and unload them if you're going to have to put that much in them?
There's forklifts and manpower. I mean, they're just sliding the loads onto the vans, and they've been able to do the process.
Okay. Well, so you're saying they're on pallets?
Some of them are, or they're loading on pallets.
Are all of them on pallets?
Not all of them, no.
Okay, then you would be better to stand up.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
No, sir. Records here. We hand load all of our boxes onto the vans, and believe you, I'm a Ford man. Been a Ford for years and years until it comes to the repair. Problem with the vans and records, we have all Fords, by the way. The repair cost is very high and very expensive to keep repairing Ford vehicles versus Chevy vehicles. That's why we're going with Chevys now. But believe you, I'm a Ford man. I have all Fords in my family. So.
Well, let me explain that the new Fords have nothing to do with the old Fords.
I have a new Ford, and repair costs is high.
No, you can't compare repair costs because they're totally different.
Yeah.
Well,
I have a comment.
go ahead. Well, Mr. Dick had a question before you.
Okay.
These are new vehicles, correct? Are they?
Correct.
New, yes.
I think that's a good price. Then these are the 1-ton vans for $26,000 each?
They're
Yes,
more
sir.
than 1 ton.
More than one?
V8s.
V8s? Okay.
All right.
Cubic
That's a
inch.
good price.
Superintendent.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of questions, gentlemen. So, Bill, you're over purchasing,
Yes, sir.
and Joe, you're over facilities and maintenance.
Transportation, yes, sir.
Curtis, you're over records.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you, in your professional opinion, y'all have seen the vehicles that we're suggesting that we should purchase. In your professional opinion, are these the appropriate vehicles for what you need them to do?
Yes, for records, yes.
And so you've obviously gotten a competitive price that's right at market value or even better than that, I assume, and through our choice partners. Okay. So I would suggest to the board that we accept the recommendation as presented and just move forward with getting, I don't think we should get into whether it's a Chevy or a Ford or an Audi or a Mercedes or whatever. I trust your professional judgment and your recommendation and assume that you've
If
done
you're
the
getting a Mercedes,
research.
I'll be fighting with you.
Don mentioned Mercedes.
Well, yeah, for
Thank you,
26,000,
fellas.
we talk, yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all. Does anybody else have any discussion? Okay, so we're going to go to G now. Consider approval to purchase the 5 vehicles. All in favor, please raise your hand. It passes unanimously. All right. Okay, we're going to go to H. Consider approval to write off and dispose of obsolete surplus vehicles in shelving components. So now we're going to buy new ones, we're going to get rid of the old ones.
Yeah, now we're clear.
Now we're clear. You happy?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so Do I have, well, hang on a second. Yeah, we got to, do I have a motion? Got a motion by Dr. Troutman? I'll second it. Do I have any discussion? Sir? We're on H. Yeah, we're getting rid of those surplus vehicles. Do I have any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes unanimously. All right. Number I, consider approval of amendment to the professional service agreement between Swart Architects and HCDE for their Innovation Recovery High School to increase cost to 7.5% of construction costs for a maximum amount not to exceed $56,250, increase of $18,750 in the addition of remodeling design of culinary arts classroom and commercial kitchen lab to scope of work. Do I have a motion? Got a motion by Dr. Erica Lee Carter. Thank you. And Dr. Troutman is our second. Do I have any discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Sumner.
Have we technically even approved the purchase of the kitchens or building to the kitchen at this point in time? We have not. We haven't passed the budget. So why are we increasing the architect's fees before we even approve the expenditure?
So this is the architect who was initially assisting us with the design. And even when we did the developmental plan, as I had stated earlier, that the culinary arts component was something that came in later. Once we presented that to the architect, we realized that that was going to change the scope of the work that he needed to do, which was going to make his fee exceed $50,000, which would require us to bring it back before the board. The board has approved the $950,000 to move forward with the redesign of the Recovery High School. As presented to you last week in the budget workshop, there was, I believe, some additional money that we said that we would need for the culinary arts component. So, Jay, you can speak on the
Just that it would, it's another piece of the puzzle. We're looking at 1,200, 1,400, 1,500 square feet of space. Very utility intensive. It's an all electric site. So,
I understand that. I'm just saying is we're approving an architectural fee for something we haven't approved. This is a 50% increase in his fee.
It's not a 50.
So, what we need to do is, I'm just questioning the approval of it now when we haven't approved the culinary school.
Well, normally you would approve the design professional's contract. He won't get, he's paid based on construction. So if you never build it, he would not collect all of this. He would only collect for his services. But he needs a contract to do the design work.
I understand that.
And you can't build it till you design it.
Well, but don't need to design it if you haven't approved doing it.
Yeah,
it's kind of going in a circle. You can't get even an estimated cost until it's designed, can you?
We have an estimated cost in the budget.
Not for the culinary arts?
Yes,
part.
We do.
Yeah, it's my recommendation to the board that we need to move forward with making the adjustment to the architect's fee. We just heard testimony earlier today from a person who has worked in the culinary arts field and expressed that we need to ensure that we get the architectures involved early as possible in the developmental stage of doing this. If we do this out of sequence or stall it or whatever and get into this death circle, then it won't ever happen, and then we'll end up compromising the programmatic component of this school.
Well, and I can tell you, having been in the food business for 20 years, I understand that if we don't get the architects involved and we don't get the kitchens designed right and we don't do all the things that are supposed to be done in the correct sequence, it's going to impact the construction, it's going to impact the health department, it's going to impact so many things that, I mean, to me, I don't see a problem because we haven't said we're going to spend the money to do it, but it's not to exceed. So I think we should, I'm in favor of this doing this. Yes, ma'am.
And Trustee Sumner, you know, we did receive questions from our constituents, and I think some of these questions can be sent to the architect because they're developing a design, a plan. When they present the design, it is up to someone from these groups here, Mr. Colbert or someone, to explain how that design will effectively help us implement the culinary arts program. If there are changes, so it's not going straight into construction after they present the design. There'll be opportunities to modify and make sure it's meeting the academic and training needs for the program.
But my question
So we're
is-
not really approving the whole program. We're trying to get as much information as possible, a proposed design. It'll have the more specific construction costs based on the design. What you saw in the budget book was just a broad estimate. In general, what we're presenting based on square footage will probably cost this. But when you have a design, it gets down to every detail, and you will have the precise construction costs, and also you'll be able to see how it fits into the actual culinary arts programming plan, the training, and answer some of the questions we received from our constituents today.
Louis. Well, I think we also heard that Ms. Vera, who's, I guess, taught in culinary arts, suggested we hire somebody that's going to be teaching that to see what they want in that kitchen or whatever.
Well, I mean, she had a lot of good suggestions. I appreciate those. I really do.
And those have all been noted. We've had that job that's currently posted. You know, anytime you're creating something new, we want to get the experts involved as early as possible. And this project's been delayed a little bit, so we're trying to catch up and get things going in sequence. So we're working diligently as a department to try to move forward with that.
I think like you said, is if we got the job posted, we can get this approved. If the person gets hired, they will be able to sit down with the architects and do the very thing that was suggested.
Do we have a date we're trying to hire that person by? Or?
It doesn't always work that conveniently.
Yeah.
I mean, we wish they all would show up and interview. We want to make sure that we get a very good, eclectic group of individuals that we only want to hire for this position once, and not have to repost
I guess my
it.
point is, since that won't open for a while, would we hire them a while before it starts? I mean, before it opens, or how to?
Yeah, I mean, right now, based on the direction and the pace that we're moving now, we're getting back on schedule, I think. I've been out to the school twice, meeting with the landscape architects, the regular architects, and then we'll have, y'all approve this, we'll get the whole culinary arts thing going. Mr. Parker and Ms. Truitt have been working, diligently along with Ms. Hall in getting that campus staffed along with Dr. Moten. So we want to get the culinary arts teacher immediately involved to help customize and put that kitchen. The comments that were made earlier today were really served as affirmation to what some of the things that we're trying to do. Now, there were all some other things brought up that I took notes of that we certainly need to take that in consideration as we move forward, because this is a dynamic program. But stalling it or delaying it, when we lose a month, we lose a lot of time. If we were to wait till July to do this, it would be a huge setback.
And here's the thing, that I'm not going to say that the superintendent has to do it, but because I have experience both as a corporate trainer as in the food business for 20 years, I will make my services available if they have questions about whatever needs to happen. I've also been a safe serve instructor that when I think I noticed that Ms. Vera mentioned as well. So actually, by the state of Texas, that's one of the things I've taught. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I think we need to follow the process. There's a process in place. We want to be sure the total amount, everything is included once it comes to the board. There's no more back and forth. We know everything. We want to follow that process, and definitely, like Mr. Colbert says, no more delays, because we are still set to open September. Is that correct, or October?
October.
So.
I mean, look, UCJ is pretty nervous. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done.
Because we're asked a lot out in the community. People are very excited about this, and they want to know, so when does it open? And, it's hard to pinpoint anything, but any delays, we can't take any more delays if we're going to meet that schedule.
Yes, sir.
Have we designed a program for the culinary arts?
So when you say design the program, I mean, it's like designing an English class or PE class. That template is really set for us throughout the state of Texas in order to be able to give children credit for it. And so some of the comments you heard today, I mean, they're right in line with how public education works. I mean, so there's a lot more that we need to add to that, and perhaps the teacher will assist us in doing so. But we're up to speed right now. There's still a lot more to learn, though, as we move forward.
Have we designed a program?
But what do you mean design a program? There is a culinary arts program in existence throughout the state of Texas.
I mean, so we're following, what I'm asking is, do we have, you know, an idea of how our culinary arts, you know, classes are going to be taught? And if there's a certain protocol we're following, then, you know, we have a program designed. I'm just wondering if we do have a program designed or not.
So to answer your question, there is a culinary arts curriculum that exists, and that's what we will be implementing once we hire a certified teacher to be able to do so.
So is that a no?
That's
a
a
yes.
yes.
That's a yes.
Culinary arts was designed many, many years ago.
There's actually, the state has a curriculum that's already that's published that many schools follow. And so it's something that we don't have to, you can enhance it, but you don't have to, but you wouldn't take away from it.
So
and one of our member schools already, like Cypher ISD, for instance, I know that for Cypher ISD has a culinary arts program. It is assigned one of their special schools. They're one of our member school districts, so that is something that can be tapped into. There's other school districts as well that have it. Yes, sir, Mr.
And Mr. Evans, you used to run a Jack in the Box, is that right?
Both Jack in the Box and Whataburger, actually.
Okay. So you can help us.
I do know a little bit about food business.
At this point, do we know whether or not we're going to try to serve the public, or we're not going to serve the public?
That's up in discussion right now. To be honest with you, Chairman Evans has had some good recommendations that we need to take in consideration. I think that needs to be done collaboratively with some of our community components that are out there, and not just done solo by ourselves. But we're in the infant stages right now.
Okay, well, that decision needs to be made because that would certainly affect the design of the facility.
Yep, that's something to take into consideration.
I would say typically that we would not have a dining facility where people would be able to come in and sit down, because some of the things that Ms. Vera mentioned earlier, that opens up a whole nother world of having to worry about who can come in, you know, checking the credentials, checking whether they're safe to even be around children. You know, there's many things that could really cause some issues.
I could be wrong, but I thought she had made reference, maybe it was at the committee meeting earlier, to be called culinary arts, you'd have to have some public aspect of it. Is that wrong, or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not aware of that. All right, any other discussions? Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so for I, all in favor of item I, please raise your hand. Okay, all opposed? So motion fails. It's 3-3.
I would just like to note to the board that y'all have given me the approval to move forward with this project, and the failure of this action today will absolutely stall that 100%. Everything that we've heard earlier today and what we've talked about today, it will compromise the ability to move forward with the construction and the redesign of this school.
Mr. Colbert, when did we give you approval?
When the board approved the developmental plan and approved for us to move forward release the money to move forward with
This
the
was
program.
an add-on to the developmental plan.
I understand that.
Okay, so we haven't approved this.
Trustee Evans, I just want to have a point of clarification. The purpose of this, my understanding, the purpose of this agenda item is for us to approve. That's what this is. Not even to approve it incompletely, for approve getting more information through a design. I would like Trustee Sumner, since he had this agenda 3 to 4 days ago, what other information he would have needed to approve this item. You're not approving the entire budget for a culinary arts program.
Well, I understand that.
You're approving the design.
But I think, as Mr. Dick asked, I think we need to have what we're going to do. It's in the budget, but it hasn't, no other action has been taken. And the approval is going to come through the approval of the budget. So we haven't approved the budget yet. I think that their estimate, based on what I know and have heard, their estimate of the cost of the kitchen is probably reasonably close. At least it's in the ballpark. So, and, you know, there's going to be, if they wanted to proceed without this approval, there's the restaurant supply and companies that are involved in this type of effort will give you pretty good estimates of what it's going to cost to put it in once you decide what equipment you actually need. The need of the equipment is going to depend on whether or not you're going to offer food to the public, what the limits of your activities are going to be. You're going to have a walk-in cooler. You're going to have all this kind of stuff, and that can be priced out reasonably well. I've been in the business myself also, that most of the time.
I guess my point of inquiry is the problem that it wasn't brought through the development committee, or the problem that you think it should be approved in the budget, even though this is actually outside of the budget? I'm still not pinpointing. I mean, you're giving a lot of details on how they could do it, and everyone chooses to get data different ways. But you're not telling me what the actual problem was with this agenda item.
I told
because
you.
I still was not clear from all the statements you have made, or Trustee Dick.
There has been no board action to approve the addition of the kitchen. Now, the board action for approval of the kitchen is incorporated in the budget, which, if the budget is approved, then we will be approving the kitchen.
We don't want the budget to be approved until we get it finished. We can't do that till we take this next step. You're trying to make this a vote about the entire budget, and it is not. It is not.
It's a separate item in the budget.
Exactly. So quit trying to make it about the whole budget.
There's only one vote on the approval of the budget.
Just for clarification, this is asking for approval to approve the architects to adjust his fee by $18,000 to design the kitchen. In the budget, the board has already approved for us to release the $950,000 towards the recovery school. Last week, as I presented, there's an additional $250,000 for the culinary arts program. We cannot proceed with building that until an architect designs it. We just heard someone talk about if you do this out of sequence and you try to build a school and then throw a culinary arts program in the center of it, we knowingly would be making a mistake. All we're asking is for a design of it. I haven't heard the majority of the board resist us going into the direction of building a culinary arts program. You know, this is sounding very similar to the type of debate and discussion we had that stalled the entire program from the very beginning. And now it's happening again, where it's stalling us trying to move forward with opening up the school.
Yeah, it's not, this is strictly spending another $18,000 to let the architect design the building, and then we would then have to come back based upon the design, what equipment would go in there. And of course, there will be some feedback from the department and from the experts they have. And you know, we could certainly solicit, feedback from many people, but I'm not sure I understand the resistance to letting an architect adjust the function of the building. But it has been voted and has been, yes, sir, go ahead.
I didn't understand it doesn't say it's to
Yeah, I didn't understand that either.
I didn't, the way you're suggesting it, it doesn't read like that. And that gives me, this agenda item gives me confusion. If you want to know, that's how I'm confused about this agenda item.
Okay, so what confusion do you have that we could have the superintendent or whoever answer your question?
If it was framed to me like this was to allow the architect to, include or to design a kitchen or something like that, I think my mind would have been, I would have had a different opinion. I don't like how it's worded. It confuses me.
So Mr. Colbert?
Well,
Hang on a second, sir. Let Mr. Wolf talk.
well, the $18,750, I guess I was under the impression that that was not necessarily for design, but for the cost of putting in part of the kitchen.
No, sir, that's just strictly for design. There's nothing to do with it. There's no equipment, no labor.
Is that part of what you were saying, Eric?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm confused on that. How it's worded, it confuses me. If it was, I would have had a different opinion. Okay. If it was just to allow the architect to design the kitchen.
Yeah, hang on a second. We got an answer out here. Yes, sir.
So I'd like to clear this up, and hopefully I do this for you. We've already have the architect on board, but in order to start the culinary arts development, we need that architect to help us with that. And it has all the inputs that everyone has put in here. So we're taking this renovation project, and we have a space for a culinary kitchen box, but we don't have it designed yet.
Okay.
We have been meeting with our superintendent and with different people, A-Leaf, Humble, Katy, Galena Park, private industries on how to develop the culinary program, and the development and the educational program will drive what equipment goes in there, all the life safety issues that go in there, fire extinguishers, Ansel systems, freezers, coolers, all that has to come as we develop the program. We're just asking you to let us go ahead and get the design moving forward so that we can begin to answer all of those questions as we develop the program, what needs to go in there. We're bringing in professionals who develop kitchens to help us with this. I mean, this is not just we're throwing something at this. We're putting a lot of thought in what we're trying to do for you to build this. This is just a step in the process to do this. That's all it is. We're stopping this program for $18,000.
Can I make a motion to reconsider the last agenda item?
I'll ask our attorney to rule on that one.
Sure, no problem. It actually wouldn't be a motion to reconsider because it was a 3-3 vote, which was no action. A motion to reconsider is proper if a motion had passed that somebody wanted to reconsider. So considering that, it would just be a motion to approve because the previous motion was no action.
So we have a motion to reconsider?
It's a motion to approve, just another motion to approve the item.
Okay. So, Mr. Dick, you have a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the item. If there's no more discussion.
You can have second.
Got a second by Trustee Lee. Any other discussion? All right. Hearing no other discussion, we will now revisit aye. All in favor of aye, please raise your hand. Okay. All opposed? All abstaining? Okay. So we have 4 for, 1 abstention, 1 opposed. Motion passes. All right, number J, consider approval of the request for qualifications for legal services for Harris County Department of Education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Wolf. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Second by Mr. Dick. Do I have any discussion? Trustee Trotman.
Yes. I really don't think I can vote on this item for which there's no explanation. I think we owe it to our taxpayers and to the audience today to explain why we need to do a search and a bid for a new attorney. Can someone anyone on the board, please explain to me why we are looking for a new attorney. Thank you.
Mr. Dick.
Sure. So, a number of trustees have issue with the current board attorney. That's one thing. There's questions of duty to
Clarification, board and department attorney, not just our.
Very specific issues. We need evidence of spending taxpayer money.
Do we want to?
Hang on for just a second.
Please.
We're not going to. We're
going to talk about specific issues with somebody sitting up here. So we do this in executive session. I would really. We can't.
I'm sorry.
So we're going to talk about you in front of you.
The personnel exception under 551.074 of the Open Meetings Act only applies to employees. It expressly does not apply to independent contractors, of which I'm an independent
We will continue the discussion about you. All right. Go ahead, sir.
I don't understand. We're not saying we're going to spend any additional money. We're going to replace one attorney with another. It's not going to cost any more.
You need a reason to do that.
Well.
And also, Trustee
No, we
Sumner,
don't.
It's an RFQ, so that doesn't mean we're replacing attorney. That just means we're getting requests for qualifications.
And
the respondents, none of them might be qualified based on what we have set.
You owe the taxpayers an explanation. You, above all, who are always talking about saving taxpayer money, owe the taxpayers.
I'm going to say it one more time. There's not any difference in the expense.
You owe an explanation.
I actually think we're paying too much for an attorney, being an attorney. I think actually we can get it at the same quality or higher quality for less. That's my expert opinion.
But what we all know about the bid system in education especially is it's not about price only, it's about quality. And in our case, it's somebody who is protecting our liability as trustees as well as the future of the department.
You're the one that brought up the price, so now you're saying the price is not important. Okay, just make up your mind.
I think it's important, but it's not the most important thing. Quality would be first.
Then, Diane, I just want to know which target we're focusing on. If we're focusing on quality, or are we focusing on price? And if we're focusing on quality, I'm fine.
I'm not focusing on anything till I know the reason we need to do an RFQ for a new attorney. Please let me know that.
Well, let's just do one thing that we would clarify. Just because we have put out an RFQ doesn't mean we're going to be getting a new attorney, because if we do say that, we're saying it's a foregone conclusion, and we would then tell our present attorney to not apply, because we have no intention of even looking at hers. And I think that would be very going down the wrong path if we do something like that.
I'm expecting that the present attorney will submit. I don't think that that's the real issue.
I mean,
What is the real issue?
We don't owe you that explanation.
Well,
You don't owe the taxpayers an explanation?
You're not the taxpayer.
Oh, yes, I am.
We live in this county. You're countywide. You're
Well, you
representing
lost that
me
one.
as well, so we are taxpayers.
all right, so we've established that both Dr. Troutman and Erica Lee Carter live in the county, correct? So you are taxpayers.
And I have 2 homes and other properties, so.
All right, so
we pay some
you are
taxes.
taxpayers. But, I think the question is they're wanting to know why we would spend our board time, why we would spend the money for the department to search for another attorney. Now, I do, as Trustee Dick has said, several trustees have not always been happy with their present legal representation. So for us to go through and to send out RFQs to look and see who's out there, will our present board attorney apply? It's not going to be, I just checking to see if there's anything out there, and does she still have interest in doing it, right? So, I don't know. Anybody else have anything they'd like to say?
I move to call the question.
Well, I just want to say one other thing. I am not one of the board members that has a problem, and I think she has served us, Ms. Langlois, in a stellar manner for the years that she has been on this board. I see no problem. But I suppose if there are others that do, that is their prerogative.
I would just like to say that I was glad to be a part of developing the RFQ, and I just want to make sure that the committee members that are chosen to review it don't go in with preconceived notions created by any comments we're making. We need to actually have a legitimate RFQ that is not designed to have one outcome or the other.
We need to be transparent in everything we do. Okay? Any more discussion? So we have a motion, we have a second. We've had discussion, so we'll have a vote. All in favor of approval of the RFQ for legal services, please raise your hand. Okay? All opposed? So we have 5 for, 1 against, no abstention. Motion passes. We have a request from the trustees that put on K&L to remove them, so we're going to remove these from consideration for this agenda. With that being said, the board will now. What's that?
Can they give a reason? They don't have to give a reason, it gets to be removed.
Do we need to give a reason, or we just? No. All right, that being said, we're going to go into executive session under Texas Code pursuant to any and all purposes permitted by sections 551.001 through 551.084, including but not limited to 551.071 through 551.074. It is now 11:12, and we're in executive session. All right. The Harris County Department of Education Board of Trustees is back in session. It is now 11:43. And we're going to look at, where's it at here? Employment for the Senior Director for Schools Division. Do I have a motion? So moved. Got a motion from Mr. Dick. I got a second from Dr. Troutman. Do I have any discussion? Hearing none discussion, may I have a vote? Please raise your hand if you're in favor. Motion passes unanimously. Do I have any other motions?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, do I have a second? Second. Okay, I got a motion by Mr. Wolf. I guess I couldn't remember. It was one of the.
Don't matter.
Mr. Dick was the second. All in favor? I guess we didn't have any discussion, did we? All right, we're adjourned.
Good job, Captain.